Okay, so I just want to start by saying thank you so much for taking time out to sit down and chat with me.
No,
I
thank
suppose
you.
we should start right at the beginning. How did you start? How did you get into musical theatre?
Well, I suppose my first kind of on-stage experience would be when I was very little. I was in a talent show at a holiday camp, and my parents dressed me up as Poe from the Teletubbies. So I think dressing up just kind of started off from then. I always wanted to sort of have my face painted as a clown. So I think what really spurred that interest on, after doing a lot of local amateur dramatics and youth theatre, was then actually going on to the Brit School, where I studied musical theatre for 2 years, and that was an amazing place, and that was what really sparked it all off for me.
Fantastic. So skipping forward a few years, we had kind of a strange meeting. You met me without me realising it was you. You were obviously with the elephant at Mama G's Family Pride. So how did you land that sort of gig? How did that journey come about?
Well, it's one of these things where it's a bit like dressing up as Poe as a kid. I suppose that I've always prided myself in the fact that I've been very interested to do lots of different things, and really kind of open my mind to lots of different projects and performances. So I actually did dress up as a giant penguin once to promote a Christmas show called Flipper the Penguin, so kind of dressing up in big costumes is something I've always been very interested in. And so when Mama G suggested whether I'd like to step into the elephant suit, as it were, no elephants were harmed in the making of the rainbow elephant, but it was obviously just an amazing day and a really great opportunity. I actually grew up in Gravesend, where Mama G was the local pantomime dame, so that was a really amazing experience for me, and that's always been a real inspiration for me as well. So seeing those pantos and seeing that performance, especially of Mama G, so that I've just kind of kept in touch ever since then, really, and then the rest is really sort of elephant history.
Yeah, so just kind of a nice little aside is that everyone I've spoken to about Mama G has nothing but positive things to say, and obviously, as a channel, as a page, we are also massive fans of Mama G and the work that she does. But we've been to 2 of her events. How is actually being inside of an elephant? How did that?
Oh, it's very hot. It's very hot, but it's really nice because you do get a chance to. As with any kind of project, especially when you're acting and performing, it's always nice to disappear into a character. And obviously, in this case, I really was able to sort of disappear. Nobody knew that it was me. It could have been, it could have been anyone. A lot of people sort of said, "Oh, did you do it? Last time?" I said, "No, I didn't. This is my first elephant experience." But obviously, I just gave it my all, and obviously, it's just so great. Those kind of events, especially, as I said, doing lots of different things is something that I've always been interested in. But obviously, when an event such as Mama G's Prize Party has such an kind of important message, and also it's just down the road from me where I was studying at the Brit School in Croydon, so it's nice and local as well.
Yeah, when we did a series of interviews at the most recent Pride event, and obviously with everything that was going on in Texas about banning Pride for kids and that sort of queer representation being dismissed, obviously it was really important now more than ever for kids to attend these family Pride events and to learn that the queer people exist, and even just have a good time. Just the music's fun.
Absolutely.
Performance is great. So moving on then, slightly forward again, you are now in Tickle the Musical.
Yeah, that's right. Tickle the Musical. Yes, a musical comedy about competitive endurance tickling. So it's the last performance this evening, but who knows? Maybe the tickling hasn't ended. So we'll see we'll see where our feathers take us next. Yeah, so that's at the Drayton Arms, and we've been there since the 20th, and we've had some packed houses and some really great 4-star reviews, and just a lot of people again really connecting to those themes. But obviously this is definitely more of an adult performance, yes. And they certainly get to see a different kind of trunk, shall we say. So yeah, but we'll keep it PG, and but it's a really fun performance, and I've really enjoyed working with Richard, the producer, and Robbie, the director, and all the other performers as well, Derek, Lucy and Kieran. It's been a real learning process for me, and it's just a great opportunity to sing again and kind of, as you say, come back to that musical theatre love that I have. So yeah, totally.
So you touched on it, that it's about sort of competitive tickling. What is the story then? What is the narrative of the show?
So we find two friends, Callum and Chris. I play Callum on a council estate in Crappy Town, which is this horrible place to live, and we find them being approached by Davina Diamond, who is a talent scout for competitive tickling. It's based on a documentary, very loosely based on a documentary, and there's all this sort of love for musical theatre. There's lots of references to Roger and Hammerstein. There's lots of references to Julie Andrews, and these figures of musical theatre. So it's super fun, and what happens across the story, aside from all the tickling, is that my character Callum is in love with his best friend, and he's very macho, sort of hetero best friend, doesn't really see the signs, doesn't know that, and then he's really sort of so we're sort of following this story of these two friends, almost brothers. They've known each other for so long, and then along the way they are brought into this dark tickling world with Davina, and also Tina Tickle, who's this kind of boss, pantomime villain character, and it's super fun, and it's just been a great thing to get involved in. It's really great to talk about it with you.
Yeah. So you touched there that there's dark aspects of the show. And when you sort of think about the idea of tickling, this is obviously a positive, makes you laugh, makes you happy sort of ideas. So how do those dark themes enter the story?
They certainly enter in, without giving away too many spoilers. They certainly enter in with the idea that, these two young boys are drawn in by money that they're being offered, and obviously it's that sort of dark underworld of basically kind of these two boys being exploited and videoed and filmed, and then obviously they both have very different motives in terms of how Chris, as I say, is this sort of very, very macho, is very sporty, sort of is in love with his girlfriend, and then you've got Callum, who is very sort of we'd say sort of confused about his feelings. Certainly sort of a young boy sort of discovering himself and realizing that he he wants to be himself, but obviously that's quite difficult in the society that he's in, and then obviously how he's coming to terms with his identity, and with his with the people around him.
So obviously going from sort of starting the interview of talking about Mama G in the Panto world, and then Pride, and then going on to this tickling musical, sounds like all these sort of lines have all combined into one almost.
Yeah, totally. I think now more than ever, obviously, that these themes, these ideas, they're so important. And alongside Tickle, there's also been a performance entitled Soho Boy, which had rave reviews at Edinburgh. And Owen Dennis is a fantastic performer. It's a one-man show. Again, these themes of your identity, coming of age, and kind of getting mixed in with the wrong crowd and the wrong things, really is present in both works, by very, very different writers, very different team, but the but being produced by Richard Lambert and Lamco Productions, to tell these stories that are obviously really enjoyable, but also, you know, there's some essence there as well that's a little bit more, you know, that hard hitting than kind of just lots of feathers and golden hot pants, although they do appear. But again, no more spoilers.
So obviously, due to the sort of, as you talked about, golden hot pants, the feathers, the queer themes, the posters are somewhat provocative.
Yes.
In the way that they're pictured, not through any sort of overt sexuality, but just because of the, sort of, I suppose, connotations of the images involved.
Sure.
You've talked about sort of mature themes. This is definitely a show for an older audience.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is, I mean, we sort of recommend it for sort of, you know, 16 plus. I mean, but we've had a lot of conversations actually, you know, as a team, that, you know, the kids are exposed to so much on the internet and social media, and, you know, actually, as I say, obviously we do have that guidance there, but in terms of like, you know, as I said, the sort of the ideas that we're getting across, you know, it's not alien to young people, and you know, certainly to some extent, yeah. As I say, I think the message is important, but as well as it's just being this sort of big, silly, funny, fluffy musical comedy as well. So it's really dealing with those two elements, but it is definitely for a late night adult audience. You know, that it's above the Drayton Arms, this pub. So it's, I mean, it's an amazing pub theatre, and as I say, we've had a really great response with it. So I'm very pleased.
Oh, fantastic. So I suppose when you were sort of joining in the process of getting involved, what drew you to this story, and what drew you to the character specifically that you're playing?
I think definitely the idea that it was a musical was obviously a big draw. But also this idea of obviously, as I said, it being like a real sort of acting challenge as well, and it not just being lots of songs and dances, but actually it being a real process, a creative process, working with Robbie, the director, and kind of talking about, you know, what this young boy is going through, and obviously, I mean, going back to my training, talking about, you know, the Brit School. I mean, that was a place, you know, when I was 15, 16, that was a place where you could be who you want to be. And I think it continues to be. And I think a lot more places and schools and institutions are going that way. And that's obviously really, really important. So for me, kind of coming from that being my background in training, and also went on to study at Rose Bruford, where again, another institution that, a school that obviously these environments need to and are starting to promote, kind of diversity and inclusivity. So, you know, that was a real draw for me, was just this inclusive story, but also because it's this comedy as well, and I absolutely love comedy. So that was a real draw for me, totally.
Oh, fantastic! So the company working on it are Lamco Productions.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you worked with them before? Is this your first time?
I haven't. No, this year, you're right. This is my first time working with Lamco Productions, and I was very surprised that I hadn't actually seen any of their work before, because they do go to the Edinburgh Fringe a lot, and I have been there 2 or 3 times. So I was really amazed and just kind of very pleased to discover their work, if anything, just get involved. I mean, we're working with the designer David Shields. He's designed the set, and all of the costumes, and he's designed Heathers, the musical. So you know, he's a great. So that's, I think, one of the amazing things about working with Lamco that I've kind of realised. Obviously, as performers, you know, we're often championing and highlighting other performers, you know, and saying, oh, this person's really good in this show, and that, you know, but actually it is all that, you know, and we talk about it, but it is all that behind the scenes stuff that is what happens. But, you know, backstage that's so important, and so crucial to the show, and just getting to work with and meet people with so much diverse experience. As I say, with David Shields working on Heathers, Robbie, the director, has worked on Chicago and Anything Goes at the National. So she's got a really great wealth of experience, a lot alongside Richard, the producer, as well. So that experience contrasted with working with some people that have sort of more newly graduated, and then Derek, who is playing Tina Tickle, being someone who has got a lot of different sort of pantomime experiences and educational theory experiences. So just kind of just taking all of that in as a real sort of melting pot has been something very exciting about this project.
And I suppose that goes for sort of any sort of new musicals, new projects, that the more sort of range and breadth of experience, knowledge, backgrounds, the greater the show can, the more people the show can cater for and represent, the better, realistically.
Absolutely, yeah. And then representing those different sort of generations, if you like, communities, and as you say, that I'll be able to take all that information and that knowledge away with me into the next project, and so that's something, as I say, very, very attractive to me, that how I can actually use that to carry on into the next project. So
fantastic. So how would you describe Tickle the Musical in 3 words?
In how many?
3.
3 words. I think I would call it quirky. I think I would call it bonkers, and I think I would call it funny. And I think that a couple of those words have been used by reviewers. Maybe I'm stealing their work, so no copyright intended, but also but I also agree with that as well. I mean, Rhys Burgess, he wrote Tickle, and Not Tickled, the documentary in which it is based on, loosely, but Tickle. And Rhys, another thing that attracted me to the project, as you were saying, actually, was that when I was studying at the Brit School, I went with a friend to see a musical at the Landor, called Sleeping Arrangements, and it was excellent, and I loved it. And it was a fringe musical, and it had like 4 characters in it, and I was like, wow, I'd love to do something like this one day. Fast forward to 10 years, and I'm working with Rhys Burgess, because Rhys Burgess wrote Sleeping Arrangements, but there's no nepotism, there's no connection. I just happened to very coincidentally be working in a show that he also 10 years ago produced, and so it's amazing again to see that obviously he's been working all that time, and that I'm able to to get to that level, if you like, when I saw that show, and I thought, wow, this is brilliant. I'd love to do something like this, and here we are.
Amazing. Well done. Right, so where can people stay up to date with you and Lamco?
Lamco, they should definitely check out their website. Lamco is also on TikTok, so they're really getting modern, and also on Instagram and Twitter and all of that stuff, at Lamco Productions. And then with myself, I'm on all the social medias, except TikTok, but give me some time, and we'll see. There's hope for me yet, to become a TikTok influencer. Who knows? I use a lot of my social media as a kind of professional tool. It's something that I always have done. Obviously, a lot of directors, casting directors and actors talk about how, you also want to be seen to be having a kind of a normal life, and, having a normal, as well as just being all about kind of acting and stuff, which I think I definitely do. But obviously a lot of my hobbies and interests obviously feed into my career, whereas obviously for someone who's not kind of into performing or acting, going to the theatre for them is a treat, or a hobby. And obviously, of course, it is for me. It's still a treat. I definitely don't have the money to go to the theatre all the time, but at least I can appreciate it, and certainly use it to inform my work, and what I do, and how I sort of present myself.
Yeah. So sorry, just just to clarify there, do you know your Instagram, how people can find you? What's the handle you've named or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. So on Instagram, I use at Tommy Murray 2022.
Okay.
On Twitter, it's Tommy_Murray1. And there's actually a Tommy Murray UK Facebook page as well, but we don't use that as much because no one's using Facebook these days. But so then that's where maybe it'll have to get all translated over to TikTok. But we'll see.
That is unfortunately all the questions I have. So I just want to start how I finished. Finish how I started, and just say thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I will be putting the links into the comment section below so people can scroll down and click away to stay up to date with you and Lamco. But as I said, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me. And I wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you very much. And as I say, just like myself, obviously Prue and myself, I think just on the back of that, I think the work that you've been doing and the interviews that you've done, I think it's a great platform, and I wish you all the best and the success with it.
Oh, thank you very much. I shall speak to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.